What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Pace Studio here in Midtown Manhattan, New York City. We are here today with a very special guest. This is Caitlyn Smith.
Hey, everybody.
How's it going? Welcome to Pace.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Oh, man. Thanks for coming. Caitlyn is about to release her debut full-length album. Comes out on Friday, just 2 days from now.
I'm so
exciting.
So exciting.
And we're going to hear 3 songs from the record. It's called Starfire. Tell me a little bit about what we're going to start with today.
Yeah, I'm going to start with the title track, Starfire. For me, this is really the cornerstone of the record. I've kind of had a long and winding road to get to this place, and it's just kind of a song to myself about not giving up.
Cool.
It's like I'm walking on a highway, staring straight into the sun. With the universe around me, waiting for me to fall down. Your love is like a junkie drug, a little loaded gun. Your words are like a whiskey river rolling off of your tongue. But you won't burn out this starfire. This fear is dancing in my flesh. Blow me out, I'll just burn brighter. No, you can burn out this starfire, no matter what you say. I won't ever be perfection, never be your golden child. I'm not spinning on this planet just to merely make you smile. I love my crooked halo, hell, I won't apologize. You can judge it all you want, but no matter how hard you try, you won't burn out this starfire. This fear is dancing in my flesh. Blow me out, I'll just burn brighter. No, you can burn out this starfire, no matter what you say. Hey, oh, you ain't ever gonna burn me out. You ain't ever gonna burn me out. You ain't ever gonna burn me out. You ain't ever gonna burn. Oh, you can try, but you ain't ever, oh no, 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 you ain't ever gonna burn me out. You won't burn out this starfire. never ever gonna burn me out. You ain't never ever gonna burn me out. You ain't never ever gonna burn me out.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Uh-oh, I dropped my notes. I gotta go get them. Otherwise, I'm lost.
Oh no.
Yeah, no, I have a terrible memory. That song is the title track on the debut album.
Yes.
And there's that refrain, "You'll never burn me out." It sounds like you've been working in Nashville for years now as a songwriter.
Yeah.
Was that sort of aimed at that city, that industry, that business?
Not necessarily. You know,
No?
I actually started singing at a really young age in Minneapolis. And, you know, I was like a middle schooler gigging around. And I mean, it's really been my whole journey of like, I did eventually make it to Nashville. And instead of what I thought it was going to be, which was like, walk into town, get a record deal, all your dreams come true. It was kind of 8 years of the long and winding road there. And
Yeah.
so, but it's really the entire journey.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I know that you know, you've been a writer in Nashville for those years. You know, James Bay, John Legend, Meghan Trainor. You've written for all these folks, and this is your debut record. Yeah. So, you know, naturally, that makes me curious about writing songs for other musicians versus writing them for yourself. Is it something that you kind of deliberately have to do, like this? You know, I'm writing this song for another person versus this is something that is coming out of me. Are they very distinct?
Yeah, they're absolutely like two different thought processes. So if I go into the writing room and I'm writing for someone else's project, my role is to draw out of their heart what they're wanting to say. And then, you know, so I have to come in with an intention of that. And when I, you know, write for myself, it's the mindset of like, okay, what part of my story and my truth do I want to show? And it, you know, it's actually a little harder,
Yeah.
a little more uncomfortable to write my version, but it's two different
Things.
worlds.
Yeah. I mean, is it possible that they overlap a little and like you write a song that you are kind of feeling, and then you tell Meghan Trainor, like, you know, it seems like you could probably be feeling this one, you know.
Totally.
It'll work for you.
It absolutely can overlap. And, you know, I've had songs recorded by other artists that I put on this record. And so, you know, I can still sing it too. So.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, whoever wants to sing it, that's great.
Yeah. And so when you go into it, I mean, as far as this record is concerned, were these songs that you have been writing all along, or were these like very recent, you know, when you decided that there was a record coming?
There's some of the songs that I've had around for like 5 years that just kind of kept coming up as like a theme in my life. And then I would say over half the record was really written with intention to tell my story, and the rest of it just stories I wanted to tell and songs that I wanted to sing every night.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
So the album is called Starfire. We heard the title track. Tell me a little bit about this next one you're going to do.
Yeah. So this next song kicks off the record, and it's called Before You Called Me Baby. Sure is hard to remember life before you walked in a picture. I was a sad Mona Lisa with a crooked frame, standing on my platform waiting for my train. I was messed up, wondering, broke down, stumbling, running for my life. I was heartbroken, hard up on a long string of bad luck, searching with no end in sight. Before you called me baby, before you looked me in the eyes, I had nothing left to save me. Before you called me, before you called me, before you called me baby. It's like the walls fell down and the lights turned on and the band
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So, these songs that you're playing in on the record, they are, a little bit fuller, right? With full band.
Yep, full
I mean, a
production.
lot of these, they're like rock songs. I think you're associated generally with country music. You've written for a lot of country musicians. You're a Nashville songwriter.
Yeah.
But obviously, there's more going on in this music than
Absolutely.
just country music. So I know you came from Minnesota to Nashville. When who were your outside of the country realm? Who were your kind of, your influences, your guiding lights, the songwriters who really kind of
Absolutely.
brought you to Nashville?
Well, yeah, I mean, country was a part of growing up, but in my household, we listened to everything. My mom played a little piano, my dad played a little guitar, and we would sit and jam out, the Eagles and Carole King and the Beatles and Bob Dylan. And so those were some of the songwriters that really were in those early years, in my blood at an early age.
Yeah, yeah. When you were in high school, you made a couple of albums.
I did, yeah.
And
indie
so, who
records.
were you trying to be at that point?
I didn't know. I just knew I loved to sing and I loved to make shit up. And so, I was just still trying to figure it out. I didn't really have one person I wanted to be like.
Do you
and
still
I feel
listen?
like it changed. I made a record as a 15-year-old, and I don't know.
Yeah. Right.
What do you sing about at 15? I don't know.
Well, do you still have those albums? Do you listen to those
Yeah,
records?
they're really good coasters, or they're taking up a lot of storage space in my basement.
How do you what's your how do you feel when you hear those songs now from those years?
I mean, part of me is like, they're a little cringy, like, oh God, and then part of me is like, oh, that's really cool.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, was there, you can look back to that kid writing at 15 and sort of see the roots of what you do now in terms of how you do it?
Yeah, I think so.
yeah.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
I think that 15-year-old had guts,
Yeah.
which was pretty cool.
So how did you actually release those records?
Yeah, so it's a pretty cool story. I had been gigging out, like I said earlier, like as a middle schooler, and I entered this like talent competition for the Minnesota State Fair and won the teen division. And then a bunch of people had started asking for music, and so my parents sat me down. After that happened, they're like, "Hey, we have your college fund over here. Do you want to use it to make a record? You're pretty diligent and you got to pay us back, but you could use it, kid." And I said, that'd be amazing. So I ended up making a record, and then, I toured and I sold enough records and I paid my parents back, and I made another record at 17, and
So this is really is Starfire your third full-length album?
It's not. Actually, I've done a handful of 3 indie records and a bunch of EPs. I've released a bunch
There's
of stuff.
plenty of stuff out there.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
You probably can't find it now, though, so don't try looking.
Okay.
I tried to take it down.
Well, we'll look around anyway.
Okay.
See what we can dig up. And so we're gonna do one more from Starfire today. Tell us a little bit about this last disclosure.
Yeah, this is one of my favorite songs to perform live. I wrote it with a good friend in Nashville named Bob DiPiero. Bob is a Hall of Fame songwriter and has written dozens of #1 songs. And it was my first write on the books with him, and I was driving on my way there, and I was so nervous because I didn't have any ideas.
Yeah.
And I remember stopping at a stoplight, and I put his address in my phone, and the Apple Maps took me all the way to Washington. And I saw the word Tacoma, and I said, that's just a great song title. And this sad little melody came out, and I met Bob, and we literally wrote the song in an hour, and it was recorded by this guy named Garth Brooks, which is pretty cool.
Really, I'm not familiar.
Yeah,
with
he's
him.
new. He's
Yeah.
Which
He
is
had
a
an
huge
alter
honor.
ego at one point. I think I was into.
He did.
What was
have
that guy's name?
Chris Gaines.
Chris Gaines. That's right. Love
So
Chris
good.
Gaines. Love Chris Gaines.
Love Chris
Garth
Gaines.
Brooks.
I know, so good. But anyways, I still love singing this song. This one's called Tacoma.
I am needed to pack up my bags and walk right out the door. This is goodbye. I roll the windows down in my green Chevrolet. Don't know where I'm going, just know that I can't stay. Might make it to Memphis, but if that ain't far enough, I'll speed down the highway to Tulsa, Missoula, so fast that the hurricane catch up. I'm burning your memory 1 mile at a time, all the way to Tacoma. By then you'll be out of my mind. I'm thinking with a truck stop song and a cold cup of coffee that I'm drinking. And I'm hurting like hell, but honey, how could I not be? You made me the joker, the fool, yeah, the last one to know. So I'm gonna put mountains and rivers and deserts between us, go as far as I can go. Might make it to Memphis, but if that ain't far enough, I'll speed down the highway to Tulsa, Missoula, so fast that the hurricane catch up. I'm burning your memory 1 mile at a time, all the way to Tacoma. By then you'll be out of my mind. Might leave some tears in Topeka, couple of sleepless nights in Cheyenne. Never tell 'em that I miss you. I'll hit the gas as fast as I can. Might make it to Memphis, past those Kansas City lights, all the way to Tacoma. By then you'll be out of my mind, all the way to Tacoma. By then you'll be out of my mind. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Awesome key change.
Thank you.
Coming into the last.
Bringing back the keychain.
Yeah, love that. Love that. So dramatic. Awesome. Caitlyn Smith. This is Caitlyn Smith. Debut album Starfire out Friday.
Yes.
48 hours from now, even less.
Woohoo!
Friday
So pumped.
morning. In the meantime, guys, everyone can check out songs on the various socials at Caitlyn Smith. She's also on Spotify, where I've heard a lot of these songs so far. There is a website, CaitlinSmith.com. You can pre-order the album there.
Yes.
And there will be tour dates coming up, I think. A couple maybe
Yes, we'll
informally
hit the
on
road
the books. But
in the spring. We're working on it.
in the
right
spring.
now. Yeah.
But more to come. So keep checking back for that. And look out for Starfire on Friday.
Awesome.
Caitlyn, thank you so much for coming to Paste.
Thank you for having
Playing
me.
in our vault today.
It's an honor.
Yeah.
Thank
Oh
you.
man, the pleasure was all ours. Please come back and play for us again anytime.
Done.
All right.
Deal. I love New York.